What I'm going to go through today is the Bahima Century Dynasty, which the acronym for that is BCD. Okay, the document that I have here is from Scribe. Scribe is a document center where information can be stored that people can have access to, but they'll have to purchase. And that's why some of these documents that I have here, I have the Bahima Century Dynasty, which they formed in a meeting, or it was formalized on March 13, 2006. I believe that there's an older start date for this organization, which organization is the reason Uganda is where it is in the hands of the wrong people. These Banyarwanda, or they call themselves Bahima, they are purposely doing what they're doing in Uganda. It is not a coincidence, not an accident. It's just that as a people of Uganda, we have ignored what matters. We have sort of just let things free flow, because naturally, I believe for us Ugandans, we are hardly, our feathers are hardly ruffled. Okay, we are peace-loving people, and we let go easily of things that happen to us. We don't question, we don't think about things, we don't research, we don't really worry about things much. As long as we have a bit of joy, and especially the fact that they've gotten us used to the little bit or a little bit here and there. You know, if somebody meets a particular need, they're fine. They're not going to fight. They're not going to worry about anything else. So this Bahima Century Dynasty document, it is a 7-page document. I paid for it online to download it from this organization that stores documents officially. It is called the Bahima 50-Year Master Plan. I'm going to read through it, and if this program today is all about reading this document, then so be it, because people have to know, we have to understand why we got where we are. This is the document. Okay, this is the official document. Their official logo of the Bahima Century Dynasty is that one. That looks like an A. That is the logo for, it's called the People's Agency for God and My Country. That is the organization that oversees the Bahima Century Dynasty. Their motto is, because fighting for our liberation is the only option we have left. So that means these people are pressed to the wall to do whatever they do to try to retain and maintain power in Uganda. Okay? So before I get to this, I want to highlight the fact that the UN has been lit today. A lot of people that are concerned with human rights violations internationally have been speaking. One of the heads of the UN Human Rights Organization has come out and spoken clearly about what the Musevenis are doing, condemning human rights violations, condemning the illegal abductions, condemning the arrests. They're condemning everything. 246 organizations all over the world, all 246 human rights organizations have formed a global alliance called Civicus. All of these members have written a letter to the UN Human Rights Commission telling them about what is going on in Uganda and telling them to take action about what's going on in Uganda. So I did share the document on my page. If you have time, you can go look at the letter. If you don't see it there, then it somehow should be there. If I missed it, I know that I posted about 2 things about the same concern, and I also shared the video of the United Nations Human Rights Executive, the lady who spoke about the violations since 2000. For her, it's, according to them, most of it is stemming from the elections, the general elections that took place on January 15th, 2026 this year. However, a lot of other filings which have definitely pushed to this level that everybody's now speaking up. So for 246 organizations, civil society organizations around the world, to come out and talk about Uganda in particular, the despot Museveni and the son MUHOOZI and all the atrocities they're causing in Uganda is a big deal, okay? Do not undermine your effort, no matter how small. You might think it's small, but filing a document or tagging the UN or tagging any international organization that pertains to human rights or is concerned with human rights, even if they're concerned with different governments, keep tagging these people, because trust me, even if you feel like you are one person sharing something here and there, when you tag and share so often, they're going to say, wait a minute, what is it this person is doing? And what is it? Yachichi, what is it? Okay, let me see what they're trying to say. You know, every effort, every moment I have a chance that I can tag or share or highlight, I do, because it sends a message. And if 1 million or 50 million Ugandans all share and tag the UN, trust me, they listen. So today has been a great day for the internet, for Uganda, for Ugandans who are suffering especially. The word is out. The UN is out condemning publicly. Several executives of the United Nations have come out and spoken. Just today and the last 48 hours, there's been a lot of involvement and conversation. You know, His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu said, do not undermine whatever effort you make, because you just never know the impact. You never know whose eyes it lands on. You never know whose ears they fall on. So keep up, keep doing it. Use your phones, record, make videos, whatever you do, your voice, even if you feel like it may not go too far, trust me, as soon as it's off your handset, it is gone and it's making waves. So whatever, especially with the last incident of Mwanga Chivumbi and I think Dr. Besigye, those two things have definitely caused a lot. They've been like a wrecking ball, caused a lot of attention to Ugandans and their tears and cries. So keep up the good work. Let's dive right into this Bahima dynasty, because it is quite a long document. It's going to help us understand why those things that are happening in Uganda continue to happen and for how long they've happened. Now, this document, as I mentioned, was formed or formalized. This organization, it's called the Bahima Century Dynasty, acronymed BCD, Uganda's Historical Despotic Empire. Listen to that. They call themselves Uganda's Historical Despotic Empire. Okay? The BCD 7 Commandments / extinction of native Ugandans. I'm reading. I'm not making this up. I'm reading from this actual document. Okay? So, from the top, let's start. You can cut it from here if you'd like. The Bahima Century, I had to purchase this document because it's not available freely. Some people have been able to screenshot pages here and there. I have the whole thing. I'm going to share it on my page. If you want me to send it to you somehow, DM me, send me a message, and I'll share this with you. Let us circulate this as much as possible. Get it to the UN. Obviously, I've shared this already. Just share this as much as possible so the rest of the world knows why Uganda is suffering. This is exactly what it is, okay? So, reading on. The Bahima Century Dynasty, acronym BCD, Uganda's Historical Despotic Empire. Here are the BCD 7 Commandments / extinction of native Ugandans. Okay? These are the top 7 jobs, top 7 things they must do. These are the top 7 activities this organization must accomplish as they exist as a dynasty. From the day they formulated this organization on March 13th, 2006, and this is a meeting that went on, okay? So, here we go. The 7 commandments, they call them. Sick as you can hear it. These people are sick. The 7 commandments of extinction of native Ugandans. These are the key operative things that they must do. Number 1, the natives be denied quality education. That explains why UPE and UCE seems to be the way they want Ugandan education system to go. That is why they keep changing curriculums. That is why Private schools are the only schools where their children go, and not Ugandan school children, not native school children. That is why UPE schools have no roof, have no walls, have no chairs to sit on, because it is intentional that they want to cripple education in Uganda. That is why Makerere was burnt down. That is why Janet Museveni was appointed to be the Minister of Education, so that she can effectively achieve point one. Point two, the natives be denied quality health care. That is the reason why, no matter what ailment you have, if you go to the hospital, you should pay for treatment separately, and when they write a prescription, you go and pay for medication separately from the doctor who wrote the prescription from the main hospital, so that he can benefit privately. And these doctors are mostly Rwandese. They benefit Rwandese. That is why the cancer machine in Mulago does not work. That is why when they bid and bought a cancer machine in Uganda, it ended up in Rwanda. The purpose and goal of this is to cripple healthcare. Natives, Ugandans, are supposed to be denied quality healthcare. That is why there's no medications there. That is why mothers deliver at home. You rather deliver at home than go and get, killed in the hospital. Okay. Point number three, natives be denied food security. This is why coffee is bought the cheapest possible from native Ugandans. Then it's taken to Rwanda, rebranded, and sold to the Western world at a high price. That is why when people in Karamoja are suffering from lack of food, from famine and drought, there is no effort made by the government or the Minister of Disaster or so and so to come and rescue people, because it is government policy. It is the Bahima dynasty, which Museveni is the head, their policy to make sure that native Ugandans are denied food security. Number four, natives be denied civil services, military, police, and intelligence. This is why only SFCs and Rwandese are filled up in high-ranking positions in the police, military, and all types of security. It is why you see the police, instead of protecting and serving, they're the ones flogging Ugandans and standing on their necks and crushing them. This is why the military do not serve and protect the people. Instead, the military is the one that's actively coming to arrest and abduct and torture people, instead of them protecting Ugandans. That is why all intelligence services are in the Rwandese people, not layman Ugandans. That is why Ugandans in high-ranking police and military offices do not really operate or do anything. All they're there is body fillers, but the guys underneath them somehow are the ones who actually take any action or execute any. No, they're the ones who direct and guide on any actions that must take place. The police that are Ugandan natives are just filling up positions, so Ugandans think that we are somewhere. And this happens to all the other offices too. Okay, so natives be denied civil services. So civil services are other services that the government's supposed to provide to Ugandans, but they don't get them. They don't get them purposely, because it is planned that to make them weaker and more. Remember, the goal is to cause extinction to native Ugandans. So when they do these things and deny us civil services, military, police, and intelligence, that is why when Ugandans enlist to join the military, they just take them to the front line to get them destroyed, killed, or whatever the case might be. Okay. Yes, Mama. Yes, that's true. The pharmacy belongs to Rwandese also. Mansa is adding. Musa, thank you so much. That's why the pharmacies belong to Rwandese. That's why medical courses are now restricted only for Rwandese people, not Ugandans, because they are setting the standard for number two. Number two is to deny the natives be denied quality health care. Number 5, the natives must suffer loss of land and property. This makes total sense. That's why people are being evacuated from their land all the time. In Bunyoro, where they have the mines or for oil and other natural resources, they evacuated people from land, put them in a camp, and for over 10 years, some people have died. They've not had burial ground. They've been in the camp. In Sebei land, there are people who have been in camps for several years. Okay? Land loss in northern Uganda, you can't even begin to explain. During this, especially during the LRA, coming on to now, Salim Saleh settling there and all of that, the loss of land has been immeasurable. It is insane. Buganda alone, we see land grabbing, including the kingdom of Buganda, where Maiga Katikiro sells land day and night. The people who belong to the, you know, the Bateketeke of Buganda are always involved in land wrangles, selling land here and there. Most of the land that was the Kabakas, I grew up on Kabaka's land. I grew up in Nakawa, in Kampala. We are the people who lived in Nakawa when we came from northern Uganda. We were given some parts of the land so that we can settle, okay, as friends of Uganda. Eventually, this land that was given to some people has been taken away, names changed over. Jennifer Musisi of KCCA had several land titles by the time she handed power back. She handed the office back to Museveni. They handed those land titles to the Museveni family. Those land titles have never been seen. She does attest to the fact that she did have those land titles where she handed them where they're supposed to be when she was leaving office. But of course, you cannot pinpoint where those are. They have changed those names to their names. That is why they're changing laws about ownership of land, because they're trying to achieve number 5, where natives must suffer loss of property and land. Number 6, natives must be killed, jailed, and exiled. Do you understand why Eddie Mutwe is in prison? The whole group, Machete, has been in prison since 2020. Do you see why there are prisoners in jail? There are people who have been killed. The Frank Sentezas who were killed. This is a part of the plan. Number 6 on this here. Exile. Several Ugandans are out working in the Middle East and everywhere else. Yes, Brian, Kabaka and Jagala Road, yes. Lots of land has been sold out of Buganda right before their eyes, because Katikiro is a Rwandese man, and several other people that are manipulated in Buganda have sold their land. Okay, this is point number 6 on their top agenda. Like I said, they call this the 7 commandments. These people are sick, they're evil. They call this plan the 7 commandments, and the 7th one is natives be impoverished. No wonder, Karamoja, people suffer more than anything. Poverty is all over Uganda. In every aspect of life, nobody can make it on merit, okay? People have believed, or come to believe, that politics is the only way around, because it is the only place or area of life where they dish out money somehow, either in bribery or people end up stealing money. Look at Anita Among, you know. The rest who cannot get anything live in dire poverty in Uganda. It is one of the 7 commandments that they have. Yes, Brio, it is true. Mwanga Chivumbi and Bobby Young. That is why number 6, it says the natives be killed, jailed, and exiled. This is why they don't really care about Ugandans at all. So I'm going to read to you the 7 commandments of the Bahima Century Dynasty so that you can reflect and connect to the situation back home. Number 1, natives be denied quality education. That is why Janet Museveni was appointed the Minister of Education, and on and on and on. That is why these Balam people are walking around trying to look at schools, knowing the fact of what these people have implemented all along. Number 2, the natives be denied quality health care. Number 3, natives be denied food security. Number 4, natives be denied civil services, military, police, and intelligence. Number 5, natives must suffer loss of land and property. Number 6, natives be killed, jailed, and exiled. Number 7, the natives be impoverished. Okay? In the opening remarks on the meeting that they had on, I will get to the rest of it, but it is interesting to note that on this day, on March 13th, 2006, in a meeting, in the opening remarks, here is a key statement that we all need to remember. This is going to make sense for everyone. The opening remark on that day was, corruption in this Bahima Century Dynasty is not criminal, but a courtesy responsibility to attain the financial wellness or our successors to downcast poverty of our forefathers. This was said by Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who is the chairman of the Bahima Century Dynasty. This is an opening statement that Museveni makes. In a meeting of this Bahima dynasty, Museveni says corruption in the Bahima Century dynasty is not criminal, which means all this foolery of Balaam and Namere about corruption, it's all about doing this to Ugandans, and with the exemption of Rwandese. Because Museveni says corruption should not be considered criminal amongst these Bahima people, but should be looked at as a courtesy responsibility to attain the financial wellness of their ancestors, to downcast poverty of their forefathers. Museveni himself says that. When oil, I'm reading on, when oil was confirmed in the mid-2000s, the 1993 Rwakitura 50-year master plan was amended to 100 years. So this Bahima dynasty, when oil was discovered in the year 2000, it was amended to be a 100-year master plan. Okay? The meeting, which took place in Rwakitura on March 13, 2006, after the election. In that meeting, the resolutions were, okay, that the cooperation in Rwanda be improved and downplay all Kisangani conflicts. Make peace with Besigye as long as Winnie Byanyima forever lives out of Uganda. This Besigye matter upsets a lot of people. The reason why I'm not bothered about Besigye, okay, is because of things like this. Point number 2, they say, make peace with Besigye as long as Winnie Byanyima forever lives out of Uganda. Increase the number of districts to decrease political fatigue at the central government, as well as expand parliament. Do you see how all of this makes sense? These guys are ruling Uganda on this script. Reading on. Bring Amama Mbabazi, an immigrant Hutu, closer to the piloting deck for the coup he has successfully foiled. So Amama Mbabazi is an immigrant Hutu. That is how they know him. Hand over regular civilian security to Kale Kaihura and use it to control Besigye not to go abroad, not to go overboard. Shift power from the mainstream institutions to projects, authorities, and commissions which should be run by biological allies or trusted social work network of BCD. So power is taken away from mainstream institutions. So let's say Ministry of Health. It cannot perform as a ministry. That power is given to individual Bahima to run. Okay? The idea of increasing districts and increasing members of parliament is their idea so that the central government doesn't bear too much weight. Do you see that? All this we've seen so far. All this we've seen so far. Kale Kaihura, when he used to be in police, and even then he's still working in the background, Kale Kaihura has mishandled and caused a lot of human rights violations because he's directed by this CBD organization agreement. Okay, so power from mainstream institutions are to be removed and given to individual people. The Presidential Guard Brigade should form a special unit to monitor wealth inflow and outflow of individuals who do not belong to CBD. So there are organizations or a few people that are appointed to watch for Ugandans who are thriving and do something to them. Divert their wealth into the Bahima. To block and destroy any educated rich Muganda, Northerner or Easterner. Boni Katatumba should be categorized equally for his monarchical ideas. So it is designed that they should block any educated rich Muganda, Northerner or Easterner. The Bahima membership should oh boy, sorry about that. The Bahima members should control all resources in the country. Number 10, train all our children using the most elite education there is in the world. I tell you, several scholarships go into State House that are supposed to be offered for Ugandan individuals. But all these scholarships are given to Rwandese people only. Many Rwandese children or people are being sent abroad to study with Ugandan taxpayers' money, but to benefit the Bahima only. Ugandans are not sent away equally to study and improve themselves intentionally because they want to make sure that Ugandans remain uneducated while they continue to progress in their education. Uphold this current curriculum in all government and private schools for the rest of Uganda to widen the gap between CBD and the rest. So the intention of improving the education for the Bahima children is to create a gap between Ugandan children and the Bahima children. Train all members of CBD to professionalize oil exploration and trade. With a lot of oil that has been discovered in Uganda, this policy states that Ugandan natives should not be trained in this oil exploration certification, so that it's only left to Bahima professionals only in oil. Acquire all resourceful land in the country and tighten the grip on all resources in the country. It is no wonder in Karamoja, Rwandese are all over Karamoja, building, getting water, growing vegetations, you know, doing all kinds of things and thriving, while Karamojongs are dying of hunger and being sent away from areas where there's water because that water is used only for the Bahima. Do not allow any politician from the opposition to surpass the position preserved for Besigye. Oh. If you love Besigye, I understand. But do you see how deep this is? Do you see how deep Besigye is in the roots of these people? They're saying they should not allow any political opposition to surpass the preserved position of Besigye. Besigye has been assigned to be in the opposition forever to keep maintaining Museveni in the presidency. In fact, if we hadn't woken up and MUHOOZI had taken over the country, Besigye would still be the only opposition or the main opposition alongside Museveni or MUHOOZI. So this is how rooted Besigye is. Besigye is in there. That's why all this drama and feigning and passing out. You know, if he has come out of pretense, then good riddance to him too. But Besigye is one of Uganda's main problems because he hoodwinked Ugandans to thinking that he was a true opposition, and he won the hearts of a lot of Ugandans. It is time to let Besigye go. And whatever they want to do with him, let them do. It is their own silly drama. Besigye is not a legitimate opposition. You know who the legitimate opposition is? His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. That is why Museveni cannot stand Kyagulanyi Ssentamu existing in Uganda or being in the opposition, because Kyagulanyi Ssentamu woke everyone up. That is why. Besigye's position is a card that is holding Museveni in the presidency to make him look democratic. So if you love Besigye, good for you. But in terms of politics, I do not respect him. I don't want to give him any mind. I don't care if he faints, they take him in I don't know. It doesn't matter. Besigye does not matter to me. It doesn't make sense that Besigye's wife sits at the UN or whatever organization within the corridors of United Nations and human rights violations, and this woman has done nothing for her husband, but we are supposed to be dying for Besigye? No. So that is why you don't see me posting about Besigye, because honestly, the dots don't add up. The math is not mathing, okay? So let's move on anyway. Okay, next one. Do not intermarry. Hate the Northerners, Easterners, and Centrals. Never at any time mix with Muslims. Detest them like fecal matter. Detest Muslims like poo-poo. That's what they're saying here. Because Museveni believes that that's why they say that when you go to prisons in Uganda or safe houses where they hide criminals and not criminals, where they abduct and hide prisoners that they capture. I understand when it's time for prayer. You know, they do 5 times a day prayer. at any moment in time when it's time for prayers, almost all, more than half of the prisoners, all of them turn and fold to the right direction where they're supposed to and begin to pray. They say the prisons of Uganda look like a mosque. They look like an Islamic asylum, like where only Muslim people go to be imprisoned. That is why Museveni there's a gentleman who was abducted, and he was shot point blank in front of his family, his wives and children. Museveni truly hates Muslims because he believes Muslims and their tradition cause people to get rooted. They do have big families. They marry several wives, 4 wives, and that causes them to be a bulky situation for him. Museveni prefers 1 wife, 1 woman because he knows if he has the wife, if he captures the husband, end of that family. Muslims, in this case, he thinks that they're a problem because they are rooted. They have, 1 man could have 50 children. Museveni could never get rid of them all at once. Okay, so he hates Muslims. In fact, Muslim clerics, Muslim leaders who go to, after their fasting period, they go to break the major fast, which they do with Museveni at State House. Museveni purposely and intentionally feeds them pork. Intentionally. The way Museveni said, detest them like fecal matter. I understand he does take fecal matter and puts it in their food. In their food. All the Muslim leaders who have gone to break fast at State House have eaten pork officially. And Museveni walks away laughing. He's a sadist. He's sadistic. Sheikh Chirevu, thank you, Musa. Sheikh Chirevu was picked up from his home. No crime. That's why every single crime in Uganda that's major, they talk about ADF. ADF is tied to a Muslim man. There's a Muslim name. If you know it, please add it there. I forget what it is. ADF rebel that Museveni claims is a rebel group is tied to a Muslim person. That is why every Muslim in Uganda cannot be successful and remain successful, because Museveni does not like Muslims. Okay? Okay, moving on. If I don't finish this today, I'll come back and finish it another time, because every point looks like I have to explain. All public property belongs to the dynasty, BCD dynasty. That is why public service offices rent from government Ugandan, that's why public offices pay rent to the Musevenis. That is why there is not a single public service office that owns a building in Uganda. All the buildings are privatized and owned by individual Bahima. So let's say you want to go to Bank of Uganda, you have to pay rent. You want to go to Ministry of Gender, they house, where they're housed, they pay rent. They don't own a ministry that has existed since time immemorial cannot or does not have a building that they don't have to pay rent for. So even if they got the little bit of money to run the ministry, they have to plan for rent, which rent goes in the pockets of these Bahima people. Okay? Craft all means available at any cost to maintain power in the circles of the dynasty, BCD. It is no wonder several of them are in positions in government all over Uganda. That is why Museveni calls himself the president. That is why his wife is a minister of education, was the minister of education. That is why his son is the CDF. That is why Karujire is really, truly the Chief Justice. That is why the new CJ is a Rwandese guy who is a nephew of Museveni. The Chief Justice today is a nephew of Museveni. That is why Ministry of Health is run by who's the permanent secretary, Kajina or something like that. Think about any ministry, you will see a Rwandese name. They don't mean well for any Ugandans. Even if there are places perfectly, Parliament, even if you can say, well, Oboth is a member of Parliament, is the Speaker of Parliament. Oboth is just a position filler. The true Speaker of Parliament is Tayebwa. This is what they mean. No Ugandan is allowed to take any position. It says craft all means. Crafting means kayungirizi. You put things together to make one in a strange way, not like they're used to be or they're meant to be. Yes, Jamil Mukulu is the ADF leader. And you know, Jamil means Muslim. Every bad thing Museveni ties to a Muslim. When those people were hit while watching the World Cup several years ago, he said it was ADF. And he says that Jamil Mukulu and so on and so forth. He just wants to make a bad name for Muslims. Okay? Because he hates them specifically. Next thing. The CBD, the Bahima, should be enriched by Viankore, then Bahoro, then Bashiga. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. The Bahima should be encircled by Banyankore, then Bahoro, then Bashiga, Tutsi and Hutus. The rest should be workers, drones, slaves, and all Muslims invisible and outcast. Here we go again. Then, yes, Ronald, yes, Kajina, and Diana Twine are all Rwandese in places, okay? So I want to read this again. They're saying that, you know how Ugandans say, Banyankole are doing well, Bachiga are doing well? Well, this has been a trick all along. What they do is they foil themselves, like they call it, encircled around the Banyankole, Bahoro, Bachiga, Tutsi, and Hutu. They foil themselves and look like they come from Ankole, like they are Bachiga, like they are Bahoro. But truly, who they are is Rwandese Bahima existing in these foils. So that's why it goes to say that the most suffered people in Uganda potentially are the Banyankole. These people who are, they say that they're encircled around, the people who they believe they can merge or live with, so that we don't recognize any difference. Banyankole, but the people of this region, Westerners, have been the most suffered during the invasion until now of the Bahima. Okay? So, and also they continue to say that all Ugandans should be, the rest should be workers. Ugandans should be workers. They should be drones. They should be slaves. And all Muslims should be made invisible and outcasts. This guy especially has a vendetta for Muslims. Especially. Next, shift some of the investments from the West to China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Kuwait. It is no wonder a lot of the business of these days, you see a lot of Chinese people all over Uganda. They're meeting Chinese for this Chinese, even in Acholi, deep in the village there, you will find words that you can't read. Chinese so and so, Chinese this and that. Because the Western world has discovered these guys. The West knows about these people and how criminal they are. And so they're diverted, obviously, to Russia because they're comfortable there, to China because that's another sort of, you know, it matches what their ideology is, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Kuwait. Okay, next one. Bahima should grow to a level of controlling a number of factors in the entire Great Lakes region. So even if this is in Uganda or stemming from Uganda, they want to catch and capture the whole Great Lakes region. The whole Great Lakes region, that means the entire East Africa and further. They want to capture that area and they continue to work towards that. To advance the wealth, next point, to advance the wealth of BCD, of the Bahima, 15% of the national budget should directly be drawn and distributed amongst members of the Bahima, regardless of their job position or age group, as long as one is 18 years old. This is why you see money lenders in the villages. They can't even speak a word in whatever language, but they have so much money. They don't look like they've been to school or have earned anything in any other way, but they have money. That means 15% of Uganda's budget goes to this Bahima. Clean. Before hospitals, before any type of need for Ugandans, 15% of Uganda's budget goes to the Bahima and is distributed efficiently amongst all the Bahima. As long as they're 18 years and over. It is no wonder you see young people, Rwandese, in Ugandan communities bossing people around because their pockets are full. They've not earned it in any way out of merit. It is just a distribution that comes. It probably comes in mobile money every year. Click, click, when it's time for the budget to be read and distributed. And I'm sure while other budget requirements or budget allocations delay, theirs does not delay. Okay? Next one. 50% of the national budget should be drawn into the Bahima membership through contracts, projects, salaries, and supplies, etc. Besides the 15% of the budget, of the whole budget, 15% goes to them for distribution. The 50% of the budget that goes to contracted services and contract work. Again, this same Bahima go and line up behind contracts, and they're the first to get 50% of the budget that's allocated to contracts in their pockets. No questions asked. Through projects, contracts, salaries, and supplies. And I'm kidding, I tell you, without thinking twice, these monies do not delay or do not get diverted into other services. These they get effectively because the head of their organization is the current president in that country. It is, next one, it is in the mandate of the state of Uganda to protect every member of the Bahima from any sort of crime, be it minor, major, capital, or international. Bahimas should keep clean by using proxies to do their very dirty work. Okay? It is no wonder that gentleman who America wanted to be extradited, what is his name? They eventually found a way to stop him from extradition because they always protect their own. They said it is a mandate of the state of Uganda to protect the Bahima. So apparently there's some sort of mandate because the mandate is signed between the leader, the president of Uganda, and the same individual who is the leader of the Bahima dynasty. So you're right, Maureen. So the Bahima gets 75% of Uganda's budget every year. It is no wonder there is no medicine, there's no other ministries or no other agencies in Uganda that are concerned with public service get any more funding, because 75% in total goes to the Bahima. Yes, Jovan, thank you. Katunji. Katunji was the individual who needed to be extradited by the American government because he's a criminal according to records, involved in arms dealing, involved in criminal activity, involved in gang memberships with gang organizations in Mexico and so on and so forth, involved with ammunition that has been stolen or assigned to be sent to, let's say, Somalia when they used to be in Somalia, UNISOM, but was diverted and found to be killing people in Sudan. The same ammunition that was either sold or some were stolen were found with the serial number that they found in the United States to be linked to the murders in South Sudan. So, as they said, it is a mandate of the state of Uganda to protect every Bahima. It is why Sam Kutesa, who stole COVID money, has never been to court, has never been tried. It is why the wife of MUHOOZI took away money for oxygen during COVID period. Nobody has questioned that. It is why Amama Mbabazi stole all that money from NSSF, and there was no questions raised about it. Never ever was he tried. Never was he treated a certain way. Think about all the criminals, all these Rwandese criminals, and how they have never been touched. This is why. It is in their mandate. It is a policy of theirs that they never let their person go. So Katunji is still in Uganda. In fact, they told America that they wouldn't release him, claiming that he was very ill or something is going to go under some sort of treatment. But all that is trickery so that they do not let their own go. It's in the policy. It's number 23. Number 24. All military power should be under control of the Bahima, mainly the president. So they're saying here that all military power should be in the control of the Bahima. mainly the president. That is why they want to, Museveni wants to leave and have his son come next. Even if his son is not appropriate, they will think of somebody else that they see fit that will continue their dreams of the Bahima. Okay? So, it makes sense that all of the military, especially now, lots and lots of the military and police leaders or people in places in the hierarchy of power in the police and military are all Banyarwanda. They're all Bahima. It is in their policy. It's right here. Number 25, any potential opposition should be restrained by death. Do you see why His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu is abroad? Do you see why? Even if people claim, all these useless Ugandans who go on TV and begin discussing about, oh, nobody wants Kyagulanyi, we don't care about Kyagulanyi, they want to kill him. Okay? Number 25 of their agenda says that all potential opposition should be restrained by death. It is truly what Museveni wanted to do to His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. They were looking for him to kill him. So I'm going to read to you next the current leadership of the Bahima dynasty. Remember, the dynasty, when it was formulated many years ago, it was a 50-year master plan. Okay? When it used to be called, the 50-year master plan was formulated in 1993, and it was called the Rwachitura Covenant 50-year master plan. And then eventually it was amended to become the 100-year Bahima dynasty, century dynasty. So we are living in the most current version of this dynasty, which is the 100-year Bahima dynasty, 100-year Bahima century dynasty. Okay? Now, I'm going to read to you the leadership of this organization, and then I'll go to business monopolies. The leadership of the Bahima dynasty, the chairman is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. The vice chairman is Sam Kahamba Kutesa. The general secretary is RIP Janet Kataha Kainembabazi. The assistant general secretary is Molly Asimwe. The Secretary of Internal Affairs is Caleb Akandwanaho. The Secretary of External Affairs is Violet Kajubiri. Secretary for Children's Affairs is Natasha Museveni. Secretary Social Affairs is Chris Kajara. Secretary for Security is Eli Tumwine, RIP. Well, not in peace, actually. Forget that. Secretary for Investment, Youth Wing, Odrek Rwabogo. Deputy Secretary for Security, Sabi Timuzei. Secretary for Investment, Corporate Wing, Patrick Bitature. Secretary for Overseas Investments, John Kazora. I don't know if this Kazora is the Kazora who is linked to the Kazora who is on TV. I do recall my phone. So I was saying that it is possible that Kazora is the one on TV is from the lineage of this Kazora, because his complaint was that he complained saying that Ebola was over inflated as it existed in Uganda, because he's being blocked from going abroad to do this or that or the other. So they want to block Ebola, they want to get the funds, but they don't want to have a visa ban or travel ban from going abroad. But thank God, because that happened and it's sticking, because Congo just reported a very high number, an increasing number of Ebola. Therefore, Uganda remains on non-travel abroad for now, for a while, which is good. When you see or hear certain names, link them to the people you know and the places where they are, so that it adds up. Because then you will know who is where, leading which office, and then you'll know for a fact that those are not people that we should trust them thinking they're Ugandans. And when they act a certain way, we will understand what it means. Okay? So moving on. Secretary of Local Investment, Nzeire Kankunda, Toyota. Secretary of Local Investments is Toyota. Secretary of Political Affairs is George Kashakamba. Head of Membership Committee, Molly Kamukama. Head of Welfare, Allen Kajina. Deputy Head of Welfare, Seth Rukurungu. Head of Local Contracts, John Nasasira. Head of Committee for Social Responsibility and Philanthropy, MUHOOZI Kainerugaba. So Head of Committee for Social Responsibilities and Philanthropy, MUHOOZI Kainerupama. Head of Innovations, George William Nkiriho. Head of Quest Ideas, France Turiamuijuka. Head of Supervisory Committee, Chris Rwakakamba. Head of Education and Culture, Professor K. Turiamuhika. I don't know who those are, but if you know them, you know why. I'm going to move on to business monopolies. The businesses where these people have been, they are the head or they own most of it. Or Ugandans, we think we have a business here and there, but when truly the owners of those businesses are these people. So the business monopolies under the Bahima are all government contracts, all supplies to Operation Wealth Creation, all gorilla tracking permits are for Museveni. Okay, let's start over. Apparently they are assigned, so I want you to know who's assigned to which business. Okay, let's start over. Business number 1. All government contracts are for the Bahima. All supplies to Operation Wealth Creation are the Bahima. So it doesn't matter if, let's say, Salim Saleh, because he's the owner of the Operation Wealth Creation. Let's say you're a Mcholi and you have about 2,000 acres of land and you grow soybeans and you're intending to sell those soybeans to Salim Saleh because it's a wealth creation project. They will not buy from you. If they buy from you, it'll be at less than 50% of what it's worth, what your energy is or what you'd ask for. They will either stifle your crop while it's still in the garden. If you do end up harvesting, something will cause your crop to be bought at almost negative. Eventually, when you put in how much you put in the farm and all that. That is why when coffee is bought, farmers have complained that their coffee is bought at the cheapest possible amounts. That is why milk in Western Uganda, local farmers sell their milk for almost nothing. Because when these guys come to buy in bulk to go and sell at high prices, they buy milk a cup for 100,000. They come to Kampala when they are selling in bulk and sell it for 1,000. For simple math, I'm using that example. That is the ideology. All supplies for wealth creation are owned. That means only the people who grow rice, who are Bahima, will they buy from them at equivalent at a good price. Only the Bahima who grow certain things, coffee, whatever, even if they buy from suppliers. That is why, what is his name? Katikiro says that he's the only one who should be buying coffee from Baganda or Buganda. Or they will designate and say, bring all the coffee to this coffee market, this coffee location, so that we buy from you. All farmers, don't sell your coffee individually. Bring it here so that we can buy it. They're going to buy it cheaply, take it and rebrand it. If not, they will supply local farmers with poisonous, what do they call it? Poisonous nutrients and ask them to go and put it in their fields. Eventually, they'll have poor crop or poor harvest when the time comes. The intention is that when the suppliers sell to wealth creation, Salim Saleh will pay them the right amount. When Salim Saleh brings these items into the market to sell to local Ugandans, the price will be more than tripled. And that's why Ugandans cannot afford the price of certain things. Oil, rice, flour, corn, because the suppliers have been paid handsomely. And they are now coming to make even more money from what they have to bring to you. Remember, the final resting point of this whole document is to make Ugandan natives extinct. The 7 commandments of the Bahima dynasty is purely to make Ugandan natives extinct. Moving on. All gorilla tracking permits are owned by Museveni. All milk exportation is owned by Museveni. All fish exportation is owned by, that is why they ban Ugandans from fishing. That is why the lakes of Uganda, where like Lake Victoria, where the Ugandans used to go and fish freely, they now have military people guarding it, because only the military can fish for Museveni to sell. And all that money goes in his pocket. Ugandans no longer eat fish or no longer benefit from the business of selling or trading in fish. All fish belongs to Museveni. All milk exportation. That is why in Ankole they buy a mug of milk for 100 shillings. Because Museveni buys it cheap, goes and processes it, and he's the only one who benefits from exportation of milk, not Ugandans. Flour exportation, Museveni. I understand in Ntungamo, Janet Museveni has a huge flower garden, square miles of flowers. All those flowers are predominantly for the benefit of their family. When Ugandans grow flowers, either your flowers will go bad, or eventually they'll buy them cheaply, but it will be for their own sole purpose to buy flowers and sell them abroad or whatever they do. Okay? All dams, railways, and pipelines belong to Museveni. All dams. Owen Falls Dam, Karuma Falls. Owen Falls Dam that generates electricity belongs personally to Museveni. Do you wonder why there's load shedding in Uganda? Because Museveni chooses to power Rwanda instead of powering Uganda. Electricity does not fail in Rwanda, but in Uganda, there's loss of power every day. I saw somebody speak on the news about why there's a lot of load shedding in Uganda, and according to her, the machines that were being used to produce power have lost, they've wear and tear, they're no longer as functional. But all this, they give her a script to say because she's stupid. If you don't know the root cause, if you don't know the DNA of how Uganda is being run, like this is the DNA, they'll feed you all the garbage there is. And it's easy to believe because the designers of this DNA are the ones who go ahead and write these scripts and hand them to stupid Ugandans like Nabanja and all these other people, like that woman who spoke. I'm going to start over on the business monopolies owned by Rwandese. I am going over the Bahima dynasty and the template from which they run Uganda. Okay? I'm going to add this document on my, thank you, Johnson. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you, Alan. You're welcome. Okach, you're very welcome. Stella, you're welcome. I'm going to go over this again. I'll start from, Deborah, you're welcome. I'm going to start from the top. Number 1, business monopolies owned by the Bahima, which is supposed to be most of it, okay? They said all government contracts and businesses must be somehow owned by the Bahima. So all government contracts are owned by the Bahima. All supplies to Operation Wealth Creation is owned by the Bahima. So only Bahima people supply wealth creation as an entity of Uganda. All gorilla tracking permits are owned by Museveni. All milk exportation is owned by Museveni. That means when they buy from Ankole 1 cup for 200 shillings or 1,100 shillings, Museveni sells on the world stage for much more than that. When they make cheese or they make yogurt or they make all these things and bring it back into circulation, the finished product costs way more, okay? Fish exportation. All that is why you see military people guarding rivers and lakes, because Ugandans have now been forbidden from fishing. All fishing is now to benefit Museveni as an individual. Flower exportation. Only Museveni can export flowers from Uganda. I understand somewhere in Toro there's a big, in Ntungamo, there's a big, the family of Museveni and Janet own a huge flower garden or square miles of flowers, which they do for exports. Only them are allowed to export, not other Ugandans. Dams, railways, and pipelines are all owned by Museveni. Museveni individually. Okay? Road construction. Museveni and Janet own all road construction in Uganda. That is why the express highway is the shortest road in the world that costs the most in the whole world for the longest road. This Entebbe Express Highway is the most expensive highway or road in the world. Only because the money was pocketed by Janet and Museveni, because they own road construction. Next, Umeme is owned by Museveni, Janet, and MUHOOZI. Number 10, gold mining is owned by Museveni and Janet Kataha. It is no wonder Janet became the minister of Karamoja to make sure that this is being executed in Karamoja, to make sure that natives in Karamoja do not thrive from the gold mining. All the minerals of gold that are mined all over Uganda, including the area of Bunyoro, where people are living in camps because their land was discovered to have gold underneath, all that gold belongs to Janet Museveni Janet and her husband Museveni. Tile manufacturing. Museveni and Salim Saleh own all tile manufacturing in Uganda. Uganda Airlines is a privately owned company by Sam Kutesa. It is in the law. So when we say Uganda Airlines, Pride Uganda, Uganda Pride, no. Yes, Johnson, thank you. I understand there are lots of flowers in flower gardens in Ruvari along Tunga Mukabale Highway. All those flowers are for Museveni and Janet for exportation. If you grow your flowers all of a sudden somewhere in Uganda and you want to export them, they'll make sure they'll stifle your efforts. Those flowers will not make it off away from Uganda. Okay? Uganda Airlines is privately owned by Sam Kutesa. Many of you say, oh, the pride of Uganda. I want to fly Uganda Airlines. I love Uganda Airlines, and so on and so forth. No, Uganda Airlines is not for Uganda. It just has the emblem of Uganda. Uganda Airlines is privately owned 100% by Sam Kutesa. All planned vehicle assemblies are owned by Sam Kutesa. Transportation for UN, especially UNHCR and World Food Program. You know the times when Northern Uganda suffered with the LRA war? Guess who was the supplier and in charge of transportation? Because the war benefited them. The war of Northern Uganda, the LRA war, benefited Museveni and the Bahima. Because people like Sam Kutesa were in charge of transportation of UNHCR and World Food Program. So that means when they cause atrocities or they cause the instability, like in Sudan, Sam Kutesa gets contracts for transport. When they cause instability in Northern Uganda for 20 years, Sam Kutesa was the one in charge of transportation of what? Of everything for the UN and World Food Program. Everything UN. Water transportation is controlled by Sam Kutesa. All water transportation is controlled by Sam Kutesa. All air transport is owned by Sam Kutesa. That makes sense for Uganda Airlines. But also, he then controls entry and exits of all other airlines in Uganda. Basically, this guy might be the one running the whole airport of Uganda. They pay taxes to him probably, or they pay him when there are trips that are linked, or have legs that go into other airlines, and so on and so forth. Okay, government motor vehicle procuring is controlled by Sam Kutesa. Do you know how many motor vehicles those are? All the vehicles in Parliament, all the vehicles that are in fleets for security teams, all vehicles for the police, all vehicles for the government, all those buses in Parliament, all those vehicles given to members of Parliament, Sijui Speaker, I don't know who, Katikiro of Buganda, all those vehicles given to the Ruot, all those vehicles given to the reverends and religious interreligious council, all those vehicles that are procured and given by government, by Museveni, to people who he wants to make them foolish, to sing praises for him. All the buses that used to be for public transport, I don't know what happened to those. All those vehicles, all government motor vehicles, procurements, is owned by Sam Kutesa. Can you imagine how much wealth that is? All mobile money is owned by Sam Kutesa and Salim Saleh. And they're amplifying this a little bit, whereby they're making all mobile money people be only the Rwandese, because they want to use them as spies in local areas and communities. Therefore, because they own all mobile money, because Sam Kutesa and Salim Saleh own all mobile money, they're able to set up a spy network all over Uganda. All Bajaj motorcycles and spares. All motorcycles in Uganda and spares are owned by Salim Saleh. All petroleum imports are owned by Salim Saleh. All petroleum reserves in Uganda are owned by Salim Saleh. I understand Amoro, where there's a lot of back and forth, pulling this or that, actually this, Madi this, all because that land has oil. And not the band between northern Uganda and Karuma has the thickest oil, the best quality oil in the world. Ugandan oil in that region has to be diluted to get to the grade of international oil. So that means if we have a cup of oil, we basically have 2 or 3 cups of oil, because we have to dilute it so that it is usable, or it's at the liquid level that it can be used or accounted for in measurements alongside other oil from the rest of the world. All oil and petroleum in Uganda is owned by Salim Saleh. All petroleum products owned by Salim Saleh. All Bajaj motorcycles and spares are owned by Salim Saleh. Eskom, I'm not sure what Eskom is. Eskom is owned by Kutesa, Saleh, and Kataha, Janet. Uganda Electricity Distribution Company Limited is owned by MUHOOZI. UEDCL is owned by MUHOOZI. All petroleum products are owned by MUHOOZI. I think I misread that earlier. All petroleum imports are owned by Salim Saleh. All tires in Uganda are owned by MUHOOZI and Karujire. Even if they pretend to fight, look how far they benefit. All Uganda medical stores are owned by MUHOOZI and Diana Museveni. It is no wonder after going to Mulago for treatment or whatever is done for you there, you still eat within the hospital. The pharmacy that is in the hospital of Mulago, you have to buy medicine. Being a government hospital, you have to leave your ward and go buy medicine from MUHOOZI and Diana at Uganda medical stores. Those stores are not Ugandan. Even if they call anything they label Ugandan is just a fake. All gold refining is owned by MUHOOZI, Ruabogo, and Karujire. All the sons of the family. So the son and the sons-in-law own all gold refinery. All Tiger Head batteries are owned by Karujire. He must get the small one because he's an outsider. He's a son-in-law, who cares? All beef exportation is owned by Odrek Ruabogo. All airtime printing is owned by Charles Mbire. All mobile money is owned by Vitature and Janet. Do you now understand why people like Vitature are proxies? Because for him to own this with Janet Museveni, it doesn't give him equal powers to ownership. Let me see. Whew. Okay. I have got, okay. What I have next, I must do at once. It's the Bahima Empire business and properties owned by proxies. Okay. At this level, we're going to look at businesses that Museveni says are his. Sorry. We're going to tomorrow. I'll make time tomorrow so I can finish this so it's bundled together. So in this area, the next category of activities here, these are businesses that are owned by the Bahima but are registered, or the face of the business is a local Ugandan, so that they can hoodwink Ugandans to thinking that, oh, my brother so-and-so owns this business, you know. So you feel good about ownership. But truly, all these are proxies. Proxy meaning I own something on behalf of somebody. I put my name, but truly the business is somebody else's. That's what it means. So this next area I couldn't dig into because it is 4 pages long. I will bring it tomorrow so we can go through it and finish it. Okay? So the next one is the Bahima Dynasty Empire business and properties owned by proxies. I can give you a little bit of here and there just so you know. Some of them will shock you, some will not. Okay, so let's just say, let me go over Museveni's, and maybe tomorrow we can go over it again. Okay, so here are the proxies, people who own business on behalf of Museveni. Okay, 46% of Sudiru's wealth belongs to Museveni in Uganda, East Africa, South Africa, Europe, and America. Sudir, who they say owns Munyonyo, 46% of Sudir's wealth is Museveni's, 46%. In Uganda, East Africa, South Africa, Europe, and America. I can imagine this we have to get out to the American government, because in Europe and Uganda, in Europe and America, we can definitely put an end to the Museveni ownership via Sudir. So that one we'll look into. Next, 72% of Karim Haji's wealth belongs to Museveni, with 10% left for Janet. 72% of Karim Haji's wealth. I don't know who Karim Haji is. 44% of all Mukwano's wealth belongs to Museveni. 67% of Bidco wealth belongs to Museveni. 49% of Samona belongs to Museveni. 82% of Quality Chemicals belongs to Museveni. 70% of Aya Groups belongs to Museveni. 100% of J&M Hotel belongs to both Museveni and Janet Kataha. 13% of Exim Bank shares belongs to Museveni. That is about $8.63 billion. This is in dollars. That is only 13% of Exim Bank. I don't know where Exim Bank exists. 41% of Kakira Sugar Works belongs to Museveni. Pearl Dairy Farms Limited belongs to Museveni. GBK Group of Companies belongs to Museveni. I don't know what GBK is, but I guess we can. GBK Group of Companies belongs to Museveni. So if I have to go on, it'll take us a long night. It'll be a long night. Maybe I can do Salim Saleh's. Okay? Okay, moving on. Let's do Salim Saleh's and then we're done. 66. I'm on Salim Saleh Akandwanaho now. The proxies of Salim Saleh Akandwanaho are 66% of Mandela's wealth belongs to Salim Saleh, including City Oils and Cafe Javas. So somebody called Mandela in Uganda, I believe. I don't think it's Mandela from Nelson. 66% of Mandela's wealth belongs to Salim Saleh, including City Oils and Cafe Javas. 48% of Tata Motors belongs to Salim Saleh. That's 48%. 62% of Chinyara Sugar Works belongs to Salim Saleh. Manson's Uganda Limited belongs to Salim Saleh. 66% of City Oils belongs to Salim Saleh. 38% of EcoBank belongs to Salim Saleh. Mogas Oils, 100% of Mogas Oils belongs to Salim Saleh. Heritage Coffee Company Limited belongs to Salim Saleh. Heritage Coffee Company Limited belongs to Salim Saleh. 46 plus 20% of Movit. Movit, I think is the oil, the cream, lotion. 46 plus 20% of Movit investments belong to Salim Saleh and MUHOOZI, respectively. So Movit is owned 46% by Salim Saleh and 20% by MUHOOZI. Literally everything is owned by these people. Everything. Let's finish Janet Museveni, and then we'll go Kutesa will do tomorrow. Janet Museveni, these are the heavy hitters of this program. Janet Museveni owns 42% of all Madvani's wealth. 42% belongs to Janet. 42% of all Madvani's wealth belongs to Janet. 61% of Patrick Bitature's wealth belongs to Janet. Isn't Patrick Bitature the guy who wrote a book about wealth? About being wealthy? This is the guy who writes a book about being wealthy, and yet this money is not even his. 61% of Patrick Bitature's companies belong to Janet Museveni. Who is reading this guy's book? Who is reading Patrick Bitature's book? He did not earn that wealth. That wealth is Janet's. Okay, 71% of Roofings Limited belongs to Janet Kataha. 71% of Roofings Limited belongs to Janet Museveni. 65% of Basajjabalava's wealth belongs to Janet Kataha. 65% of Basajjabalava's wealth belongs to Janet Kataha Museveni. 80% of Simba Telecom, 80% belongs to Janet Kataha. Garden City belongs to Janet Museveni. 100%. 100% of Garden City is Janet Museveni's. The golf course Kampala Hotel belongs to Janet Museveni. I've actually stayed there before. Rainbow International Schools belongs to Janet Museveni. This is the person who is the Minister of Education. She goes on to set up a school that is at international level and leaves Ugandans at UPE and UCE level without chairs, without a roof, without a wall, without windows, without a curriculum, without teachers getting paid. This is the Minister of Education who sets up a school. I don't know if rest in peace is any justice to this one. I don't think so. Pretoria Hotels, East Africa and South Africa belong to Janet and Bitature at 50% each. All Pretoria hotels in East Africa and South Africa belong to Janet and Bitature at 50% each. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Let me stop here because the rest are basically all of Uganda. All of Uganda is owned by these people. All of Uganda. Everything in Uganda is owned by these people, which is crazy. I'll come back tomorrow and finish this. I want us to understand the root cause of where we are. This is the DNA of all the issues Uganda has. All the problems Uganda has is in this sphere. Is in here. So I'll be back tomorrow to go over the rest. I have another document that I'd like to go over with you as well. So we'll meet tomorrow. I love you and leave you. As I mentioned earlier, if you have a topic that you'd like for me to diverge on or research or bring to you, please let me know. I'm willing and I'm ready to see to it that we figure out how to change our country, take back our country. Obviously, it has already been taken, but we have to take it. You know that. So I'm going to say goodbye. I'll see you tomorrow. It's coming to about 7 something here. So take care. I thank you for being here. Thank you, Johnson. Thank you, Cass. Thank you, Stella. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you, Ochehe. Okay. If I butchered it, I'm sorry. Thank you, Everest. Thank you all for being here. We will get to the bottom of this. I believe we're on the right track. I think with the UN coming out, that's a huge deal. I'm looking forward to what's going to come tomorrow. Maybe I'll have some highlights on that. But I'd like to finish this document so that it is recorded and it's available for everyone to share and look at and reference and think. And think when you go to buy things from these people, guess who you're putting money in the pockets of? Who? We don't want that to continue. Okay? Thank you. Have a great night, a good day, good morning. I love you. Take care. Bye.